welcome to the Voice of Instagram Live, second live session. Today we're going to go live with a script writer from the UK. His name is Adam Luff. Alright, so I'm just waiting for him to come on live. And today we're going to talk about the fundamentals of script writing. Alright, so I'm going to go in live with Adam right now. Alright, Adam, if you see this, and you'll join in. Hello, Adam.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. Yes, and please forgive me for the hat. Obviously, UK is still in lockdown, so I can't get my hair cut.
Oh, me neither, man. I'm having a bad hair day too, so no worries. So you can hear me clearly, yeah?
I can, yeah. Now my hair's like a mad scientist all over the place, so
That's fine. So, how's things in the UK now? I've heard like some things are going to be eased up, like some stuff are going to be opening up soon. I've heard.
Touch and go, really. I mean, they say by the end of the month, but I'll believe it when I see it, really.
All right. So, okay, before we get started with our topic today, can you just briefly introduce yourself and how long you've been a writer in your writing journey, basically?
Yep, happily. I've been a freelance writer since, I'd say, about 2011. I started my master's degree in San Francisco, learning filmmaking and other areas like directing and editing. But it was always script writing I preferred. It's the one I enjoy the most and I'm the most confident in, because all the other ones I get too stressed out. I'm happy just to write a script, just stay by myself, write the script, give it to somebody else, let them film it, leave it at that. But so yeah, I've been doing. I've worked for film students on their thesis projects, independent filmmakers. I've done a script for an animation company in China. So quite a various number of films, yeah, and quite a lot of scripts that never got filmed as well. It's unproduced scripts.
I see. Okay. Oh, say hi to Ella. Ella has joined in. Okay, so you say that you studied everything filmmaking, so it means you've tried a hand in directing as well?
Yeah, I've done a bit of directing as well, yes, but again, I prefer just to write the scripts. I mean, every time I've directed, I get splitting headaches because I'm overthinking the shots, because while I'm doing this particular shot, I'm thinking, is this going to match a later shot I'm doing tomorrow? And it just, no, I just don't enjoy it, so write the script and leave it for somebody.
All right, that's fair enough. Okay, so I just want to ask you some clarification. Do you refer yourself as a screenwriter or a scriptwriter? I mean, is there a difference between these two terms, or are they just the same?
They're pretty much the same, really. However, when I studied in America, a lot of the teachers preferred to say screenwriter. I think it's more of an American term. Scriptwriter, I believe, is more of an English term. I also think that with screenwriting, that is for film and TV, but with script writing, I always think that could be other things. It could be like radio productions as well. So I'd rather stick to saying script writer. And also, while I was in America, every other student said screenwriter, so it made me stand out by being different.
Okay, when you were in America, did you manage to join the WGA, or at least get close to being in the union there?
Oh, the Screenwriting Guild. Is that what you mean? You broke up slightly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Sorry. My question was, did you manage to get in the WGA, or was it difficult to try and get in the union?
No, I'm not in the Screenwriters Guild of America. No, I haven't got that far yet.
Okay. But are you in a guild in UK? Are you in any union in the UK? Or?
I've been part of the Writers Guild of Britain, yes, and but really, most of the work I've done has been whatever I've found or whatever other people have offered me. So it doesn't really make a difference, really.
All right, fair enough. All right, next question. What inspires you to write a story? Do you find inspiration in a particular place, or like do you just come up with ideas on the spot? How does that work?
It's pretty much for me, it's like thinking ideas on the spot. Like sometimes they'll just come out of nowhere. It's very rarely that a life changing thing in my life. It's never like anything in my life has made me think, oh, I must write this. It's usually been, I want to write a story about animation. I've always liked animation, so I would like to write some animation. So I would think of just some ideas that would suit the genre, as well as I'm trying to think if there's a good example. But no, it's usually whatever comes to mind. But then what I do is, if I think of an idea and I let it think for a while, I jot down notes, and if it's good to continue and actually try to write as a script, I will then do research by watching films of the same sort of genre to get an idea and then sort of piece it all together from there.
Okay, and then there's always this problem with writers. I mean, I have a few writers friends, writer's block. Now, I've heard a lot from my writer friends, like they get writer's block and they don't know how to overcome it. So do you have like any tips or solution for that?
It's a tough one, really, because it depends on the person. They may have different ways. One thing I would suggest is, apart from like doing things like going for a walk or something and maybe leaving it for a couple of days, unless you've got a deadline, in which case that is usually enough to make you finish the script with a deadline. But if it's like with no deadline and you've got plenty of time, I would say do what you can to just get to the end. If it's a first draft, and it's going to be really badly put together anyway, because it's all going to be rough anyway. So just get to the end no matter what. And then when you finished it, go away, leave it for maybe a day or two, then come back to it. Because then the second draft will certainly be a lot easier, because when you're reading it, you'll see a lot of the problems. So I think just get to the end.
Okay, yeah, that would be fine if you're just writing for your own self. But what if like you're writing for someone, like a studio or somebody hired you to write, and you have a certain deadlines to meet, and yet you still have this block? How would you overcome that problem?
I actually think it's a lot easier actually if you have a client or someone whose idea it is, because if you are stuck on something, you just go to them and maybe they'll say something that will spark an idea in your head. But if you're writing on spec, that's much harder, because then you've got no one to talk to except yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. That's the first I heard. Usually it's the other way around for some writers that I know. But all right, I guess that would work. All right. So can you tell us a bit about your writing process? Like when you get an idea to write a script, right? What would you do first? Do you do just like a mind map of the story, or do you write the treatment first, or do you directly just write the script in the script format? How does it work?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up quite a lot on that one. Could you repeat the question, please?
Okay. All right, so yeah, sure. So can you tell us a bit about your writing process? What do you do when you get an idea to write a script? Do you just straight write the script format, or do you do a mind map, or do you put it in a treatment form?
What I do is write a load of notes, making sure that you have something to write an outline, because that is the first thing I do. Make sure I've got the beginning, middle, and end in an outline. But before, I make sure to have a load of notes saying what kind of characters am I going to have, and just a quick description, just to at least get an outline done. But yeah, definitely have an outline, because when you get to a script, again, if you get stuck, you can just go back to the outline and double check where you were supposed to be going. So always, take it in baby steps. Make notes, do an outline, and do the script. And then when you do the script, what I like to do is plan how many pages I'm going to write in a day. So maybe 10. If I'm doing a feature script of maybe 90 pages, try and do 10 a day. And then if you actually do more than 10, just because if you feel like you've got the inspiration to do more than 10, just do it. And then maybe day 2, you're not doing so much, but if you already did maybe 16 the previous day, don't worry, you've only got 4 pages to do to, get to your limit. So just give yourself some rules. So for me, 10 pages a day, and then when you get to like the final day, you've finished it, and it'll be done within a week or so.
Okay, all right. Speaking of feature films and also short films, like what is the different challenges in writing a short and a feature? Or is there any similarities between writing those two formats?
As far as the actual script format, no, they're pretty much the same. But as far as the storyline, the feature, obviously, it'll be between 90 to 20 pages. So it's the quantity of pages, making sure that you've got enough for a feature runtime. With a short, I've always personally found shorts to be a lot easier to do. Like if I've got an outline for a short script ready, I can actually get the script done within 24 to 48 hours, just because for me personally, there's not that much to do, because it's always best to know your limitations. Okay, you've only got maybe 10 minutes, so don't think of anything that needs developing over time, because there's just not enough time for it. Think of something that's more personal, something that's smaller in scale for a short film. So that's why short films usually are better off as like personal dramas or whatever, you know, something small.
Yeah, but sometimes it can be a challenge to not overthink everything in 10 pages, right? I mean, some people would have loads of ideas, and yet they can't just fit it in 10 pages.
That's true, yeah. Sometimes you either have to sacrifice those things, or maybe find ways to have maybe a hint of something, or because again, it's best not to. You don't have to spell it out to the audience. You could always maybe have a little hint of something, and chances are they'll pick up on it.
All right, cool. All right, I'm going to take a question from an audience. It's from The King Returns. His question is, when are you most productive? During the day or night?
Very early in the morning. I've always preferred to wait, especially at this time of year now where it gets bright very early at like 4 a.m. I would rather do it in complete silence and solitude where no one's woken up yet. And of course, now we're in lockdown, no one's out anyway. But I've always preferred to work in the morning. I know a lot of people that prefer to work in the middle of the night for the same sort of reason, where it's silence. And I can agree with that. But no, I'm falling asleep by that time, so no, I couldn't work at night. I prefer to work in the morning.
Okay, so ever since this lockdown happens, like how many scripts have you written, or how many like idea stories have you had since you're just at home?
There's been a lot of sort of competitions asking for like short scripts based on this situation. So I've done a couple of like little mini shorts, like maybe between less than 10 pages scripts, and just been submitting them. But there's been one feature script that I've been focusing on even before the lockdown. So I've spent this lockdown just concentrating on that, writing it. Actually, I had the script written several months previously, but just doing getting feedback from people, and I've recently just done another draft of it. So I've been focusing on one script really.
Okay, that's good. Have you written a script for a foreign story? Let's say maybe somebody from Africa that would approach you to write something in Africa. Obviously, you wouldn't know the language, but have you written like at least the outline of it for any other foreign countries?
I've read yes, I've worked with quite a lot of foreign clients and foreign students as well when I was studying in America. So whether it's an English-speaking country like Canada, I have a friend of mine who's got a production company in Canada. I write and script edit a load of his work. I mentioned earlier I've done an animated script for China, and I've been talking with some other good foreign friends, hoping to get some work from them in the future. But I'll quickly mention the Chinese one. That was in English, but obviously it had been translated in English, so the English wasn't perfect. It was broken, but I could tell what it meant, but it was just grammatically incorrect. But I would never. I don't think anyone would dare give me a complete foreign language, because I need English.
All right, yeah, sure. So aside from the language barriers, what are the other challenges that you face writing foreign stories?
There's certain sensibilities when it comes to certain topics, specifically comedy. I noticed in China, for example, they have a different sensibility when it comes to comedy. What their comedy is differs quite considerably to the UK and the United States. And when I was in America with these Chinese students, their comedy just didn't work. And I did warn them that you've got American teachers, they're not going to understand. If this comedy works in China, fair enough, but it won't work in America, so you have to adapt. So it's making sure that they can adapt to the different country.
Okay, all right. Adam, are you still with me? You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah,
can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I was saying the concept show but not tell. This is many writers don't understand this concept, especially the new ones. can you just briefly explain how do you implement the concept of show but not tell in a script?
Well, it's basically just because script is a visual form anyway. You don't need to have people in dialogue saying whatever. Like, say for example, if there's an apple on the table, you don't need a character say, "Oh, I'm about to pick up this apple and eat it." You know,
right.
You can just show it. Just character A picks up the apple, he eats it. Not have dialogue saying, "Oh, look at that apple. I think I'm going to reach out for it and eat it." You know, just it's unnecessary. So people just need to realize that script is a visual thing. So don't worry about having to spell it out to the audience. They'll understand very clearly.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right, there's another question from the audience, from the same person. The King returns. How do you get work internationally?
Social media, specifically LinkedIn. I've got most of my work through LinkedIn. So, and also if you have a portfolio, like maybe a YouTube channel or Vimeo, depending on if you've got videos you can put on the internet. So just basically people just come to me because they've seen my work online.
All right, cool. Also, what do you use to write your script? Do you use Final Draft, or is there any other software that you use?
Yeah, I've got Final Draft and I use that, but I also have Celtics as well, which is free to download, because I've known a lot of people that I've worked with don't have enough money to buy Final Draft, so they use Celtics. So that's a good alternative for people that may not have purchased Final Draft, but it's those two softwares that are the ones I use.
So which one is better though in terms of the quality, or is it just the same? Is it just the pricing that's different?
It's the pricing that's really the difference. I personally would prefer to use Final Draft because there's some nuances that are different, but ultimately it's not a big deal if you have Celtics. No one's going to judge you. So if you've got Celtics, fine. It's better to use Microsoft Word, and I've had a few scripts written on Microsoft Word.
Well, I've seen a lot of people try to use Microsoft Word, but the format is just wrong. I mean, in terms of the font and the spacing and everything. Yep. I mean, I don't know if that's your pet peeve, but when I get a script, I would always first look at the format, and if the format is all right, I'll be like, so cringy. I don't know if it bothers you though. I mean,
yeah, it really does bother me when I see a format that's all wrong, because it's then harder to read the script and actually properly concentrate on the story, because you're just constantly seeing all these. It's like if you're walking and you keep like banging your foot on the path or on a chair or something. It's like it's completely distracting you.
Okay, cool. All right, next question. All right, so which film would you recommend to first-time writers to watch for its writing, so that they would have an idea about what good script is all about, or what good writing is all about?
Oh, that is a tough one, because it's people's opinions, they vary. So, I mean, a lot of people would. I'm trying to think what is a good example, because most of my favorite films are genre films, like, say, for example, RoboCop, The Terminator, Blade Runner. Okay. So science fiction. They may not be the best as far as like writing examples or dialogue, for example. But
okay, maybe not movies then. Maybe is there like a book that you can
I would say
first time writers?
No, I would say when it comes to the script, maybe look at something like The King's Speech. That'd be a good example, because obviously with that particular film, it's about a character overcoming his speech problems. So the words are very important to listen out for. So, and obviously that's a good example of character building. Got this problem, and yet he has this speech he has to give. So there's a personal problem he has to overcome. So I would say The King's Speech is a good example. But as far as books, I would say look up Robert McKay. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's basically a script writing guru. He pretty much tells you how to become a writer and the do's and don'ts.
Okay. All right. So now there's been instances about creative control. Obviously, during pre-production, writers get a lot of creative control when writing. But when it comes to the production time, shooting time, unless the writer is also a director, most of the time writers don't get creative control during shoots. And sometimes the dialogues or the scenes might change according to circumstances and location. So some writers might not like it. Some might be just okay. what about your opinion? Would you be okay if suddenly, you know, your script is changed without your consult or whatever? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I've always expected the script to change on set, just as long as it doesn't change like too drastically as far as the tone is concerned. I mean, I've even, when I have been on set and I've spoken to actors, I have said to them, you know, it doesn't matter if you change the dialogue to what would sound natural to you. That's perfectly fine with me, just as long as it still has the same meaning behind it. And they've been perfectly fine with that, but there has been a couple of occasions where a dialogue has changed and the meaning now no longer makes sense. So, and it's too late because, you know, I wasn't on set, for example, and I find out when I watch the film. So you just have to accept that it's happened. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to writing, yeah, if you are directing as well, then yeah, you've got no creative controls, but you just have to know your place, really. Unless you want to direct, that's the only way you're gonna. Because when it comes to a finished, that's why it always says, you know, a Tim Burton film, a Ridley Scott film, because it is the director's property ultimately. So if you're a writer and you're not a director and you've got a problem with it, then you either are in the wrong position or you can just learn to deal with it and continue on, because at least you're getting the work and you're getting paid and you're getting the experience. So I think there's nothing wrong with it, really.
All right. So you mentioned just now that there was a project that you did where they changed the dialogue and the meaning changed. So if you were on set on that day where they changed the dialogue, would you have the creative control or like the power to say, hey, no, you know, that dialogue, you know, the meaning is all gone, stick to the same dialogue? Would you have that power to say so, or the power
I would have, yeah.
comes down to the director?
Oh, I mean, to be fair though, I would have, because it was a student film, and my co-writer, whose project it was really, he brought me in, he was one of the actors. In fact, he was sat next to the actor who changed the line. So I think he would have, I mean, I'm surprised he didn't say anything on set at the time, but, you know, never mind. But so I think if it was a big production company, then I probably wouldn't, because I might have attempted it. I might have said something. It depends on the circumstances. Because it was a student film, I think I would have definitely gone on and said something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is the difference between a script writer and a script doctor? Are their roles same or do they differ? Because I've heard of this term script doctors, where they check the script and stuff. What are they different or the same with script writers?
It's basically, yeah, script doctor. There's also a term called script editor as well, and I've been a script editor for quite a few films. It can be, excuse me, it can be where you're basically the forgotten man. You're the extra writer who doesn't get the co-writing credit. You are there just to be brought in to make the polish, change whatever the director's got a problem with. He'll tell you, right, we need this changing, so you just go and change it. And you are being just a secondary writer, but you're not going to be credited as the writer itself unless you make so much of a change. You have to change, like, I think it's like 75% of a script, or at least over 50% of the script, then you at least have a chance of being credited as co-writer. But if you change just what's really small or beneath 50%, no, you're just script doctor. So you are literally just making the changes.
Okay. And when you get a project, let's say it's a production hires you to write, do you have a team of writers that write with you, or do you write alone? I mean, obviously for short films, most likely you would write alone, but if for a feature film, do you have a team of writers with you?
No, not really. It's when it comes to feature writing, I mean, most of the time it's usually just one or two writers, sometimes three, but it's very rare to have that many writers. You get some films where you have like maybe 4 or 5 credited writers, but chances are they wrote the script on separate occasions. Like maybe there was one writer for the first draft, and then there was 2 writers for draft 2, and then maybe another couple of writers for a later draft. So that's usually what they do is with the credit, they'll have the word and the symbol and. The word and means separately, but the symbol and will mean together. So it's usually television where you get like a team of writers all together. But when it comes to a short film or a feature film, it is just 1, maybe 2 writers.
Okay. So when you finish writing a script, do you get someone else to read it for a second opinion, or do you like feel confident enough that your script is good enough for shooting production already? I
have sent the script to other people to read over, and depending on their schedule if they have time to read it. So whenever you send a script, you're at the mercy of their schedule, really. But I've recently had some feedback from a good friend of mine in America. He gave me some feedback for my feature script that I mentioned earlier. So, and I'd like to think that I'm confident just to send it over. But really, you can never be too sure. It's always best to get the feedback whenever you can, really. And sometimes the feedback, sometimes you may not agree with it. But also, if you are working for someone else, they'll provide you with feedback anyway.
Okay. You mentioned television, that they have a team of writers. Have you yourself?
Sorry, you're breaking up again. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can, yeah, just about, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I think my earphones ran out of battery, so I'm just gonna use the loudspeaker. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, okay. I'll take a question from audience. This is from Ella. She would like to know how to make sure that the script can be potential for commercial selling.
Commercial potential. It's always best to. Oh, we're getting feedback. I think it's due to the speaker. Okay? Basically, for commercial potential, it's always best to do your research. Just check what's current at the time, what's popular right now. So, for example, superhero films. Best to maybe make a film that could appeal to that. So, for commercial potential, it's always best to just see what's current right now, what's popular right now, and maybe aim in that direction.
All right. Here's another question from another audience, from Carrie. As a scriptwriter, what is the most important aspect of developing or building a great character?
Important aspect. There's so much, really. The main one most people would say is relatability. Making sure you can have a superhero who obviously is not superhero, so we don't identify that way. But if they have a personal issue, like Batman supposed no parents, we relate to that because we've had death in the family, whether it's a grandparent. So it's always have something that people can relate to no matter what. And then also, if that particular film, that someone can have them overcome it by the end of the film, even better. And the whole film, and this.
All right, awesome. All right. For first. Hello, Adam, you still with us?
Just get. I thought you were saying something else. They basically just get to the end, no matter what. It doesn't matter if, even though we mentioned earlier about the formatting being wrong and that, but if you're a first timer, just write it. Don't worry about the formatting because you can learn with experience. Just have the idea, write it down, get to the end, and then give it to someone who wrote a script themselves. They can give you the feedback. They can tell you what's working, and then you can go back and do it again. Just don't think too much. Just write it and get to the end no matter what.
All right. You mentioned selling. So once someone, a scriptwriter has a script, how does one go about selling to production companies? Like, do they, send cold emails? Do you send cold emails to production companies and say, hey, I got a wonderful script that I think you guys could produce? Or like, is there or maybe enter a specific writing festival or something?
I think your better option is to submit the script to film festivals and script competitions, because just sending it blindly to a production company, they're not gonna respond. They're either gonna email you back saying we can't read this, or they won't email you back at all. And chances are on their website they'll have a disclaimer saying we don't read random emails from people. Please don't send us them, because they have their own production team, their own development team. So they don't want to get caught in any legal issues if they happen to have an idea that's similar, that's ready. So don't bother sending it to production companies unless you know people at the company. But no, it's best to send send a script to a film festival or a script competition. Film it yourself, even better, because then you can send a finished film to film festivals, and you also have a playing card. You can see what you're capable of with a finished film. Because chances are people would rather watch a film than read a script. So, yes, script is very important, but as far as getting people's attention, you may need to go one step further and get a film on it as well.
Okay, and you mentioned legal issues just now. I don't know about the UK or US, but there's been a lot of intellectual property issues, not just with script writing, with scripts, but also films and whatnot. How do you protect your intellectual property, meaning the script? How do you make sure it's your copyright, that even if you go pitch it somewhere or send it somewhere, if people copy it, you can take legal action and, win your case? How do you do that?
Basically, just go to the copyright people of whichever country you're from, go to whoever it is that creates copyright, I'm thinking of, that registers copyright. So, I mean, I've done that with my script, the feature script I mentioned earlier. When I finished the first draft, I sent it to the UK copyright department, and then they registered it for the copyright. They sent me a certificate in the mail. So there you've got your proof. So basically just get it copyrighted with your country. At least that's proof that you have something tangible that's yours.
Well, back when I was studying in America, I used to study in America as well, in my film school. I used to take entertainment law. So that law teacher of mine told me that even before you go to that white copyright office or whatever, you can email your own script to yourself, and in that way that would be like sort of like a tangible legal thing. I mean, is that viable? I'm not even sure, because I'm skeptical about that. Is it viable? Will it be official that copyright is yours?
I'm sorry, you broke up again. You said something about, is that viable? But I didn't catch what it is you're referring to. So what exactly are you saying is viable?
Oh, no, because I used to take entertainment law, and that law teacher of mine told me that one of the ways you can get your script copyrighted is by emailing it to yourself. That would be the unofficial way of doing it. So, I mean, I don't know what is your opinion about that? Is that viable, or it won't be official?
You broke up again, but I think I know what you mean. Are you saying mailing the script to yourself?
Yes, mailing or emailing.
Okay, no, that won't work. I've been told the same thing myself in the past, but I've read so many articles from sites saying that doesn't prove anything. So it's cheaper, but there's no guarantee that's going to work. So no, don't bother with that.
Okay, all right, cool, awesome. All right, we've come at the end of our session. Do you have any other last words you want to say? Any words of wisdoms to the writers out there?
I'll basically just be repeating myself. If you have an idea, just write it down. Don't worry about people not liking it. You need to learn. So just, no matter how bad it is, just write it. Don't worry about it. You can go back and change it. And because your first script is never going to be good, it's never going to get picked up. Then the Hollywood dream of your first script being made, chances are it won't happen. So you just need to get over that and just keep practicing, and you'll get there somehow. It'll take time, but you'll get there in the end. So no, I've enjoyed myself. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thanks. Thank you for joining us. Okay. One last question from the audience, from The King Returns. Is there an email address that we can write to you? I mean, this guy's a scriptwriter as well, so he might want to get in touch with you. So is there an email you can provide?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll provide it in somewhere else, like on your link or something. But yeah, if you want to write it down now, it's Adam Luff. It's my full name, one word, at outlook.com. outlook.com.
You know what? Why don't you write that in the comment section? You can actually write that in the comment section right now, so that everybody can see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't do it right now. Do it at the end.
Oh, you can't?
Wait, no.
Can you write it?
Yeah.
The comments.
I'm right
comments. Yeah.
So, yep, there we are.
All right. Okay, there it is, everyone. Adam's email. So if you want any more, if you have any more questions regarding script writing, or if you're a script writer, if you want some inspiration, feel free to email Adam. All right, Adam. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to whatever future projects that you have, and keep in touch. Who knows? We might be working together someday.
Yeah, I'll be very interested. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for your questions. And I'll catch you all later. See you later.
All right. Take care and stay safe. Yeah.
And you too. Bye.
All right. Bye.